We'll be doing for TV what FM did for radio.
There are some that have accused your videos being soft porn.
We like to call them tastefully smurty.
A group that's never had any problem saying how they feel. You too.
What are your dreams?
To rule the world.
Michael Jackson is the man of the 80s.
Music that is all beat and talk. It's rap music.
My life is over, so I might as well speak my mind.
Heavy metal. It glorifies sex and violence. It hates authority, and adolescent boys love it.
This weird, beastly presentation that was birthed in the pit of hell.
John Lennon, as he was entering his premise, he was shot by an unknown, at this time, white male.
The world has reacted with immense shock and grief to the first rock and roll assassination.
It was like in one moment, the 60s and the 70s got murdered.
And his life has given more love than most men and women on the face of this earth. We're here to prove that love is not dead, even though John is.
You know, you start the decade with the death of a Beatle. You don't really know where you're going to go from that point, you know, culturally or musically.
For a while, it seemed there was nothing new on the horizon. Announcing the latest achievement in home entertainment. The power of sight, video, the power of sound, stereo, MTV, music television.
We all are so excited about this new concept in TV. We'll be doing for TV what FM did for radio.
Time, the world was saying, we don't think anybody's gonna watch videos over and over, but we knew we had something special.
MTV made you feel like those artists were in the room. You had a personal concert all day.
When you have the rotation of, say, maybe 100 different videos being rotated over and over on MTV, they do a great job of exposing new acts.
Britain was ahead of the curve. They had a ton of videos in their inventory, and that was what paved the way for this accidental second British invasion.
If you look at some of the groups on the popular music charts in America today, you can't help asking, where on earth did they come from? Well, the answer is the same today as it was 2 decades ago. They come from Britain.
The music isn't anything like the famous group that came from there, the Beatles.
You've got to understand they were 20 years ago. We're a new generation, a new wave.
You were working as a waitress in a cocktail bar when I met you.
By the early 1980s, New Wave is used to describe these sleek, dressy, cool bands that are coming out of England.
British artists all understood how to use visuals in a way that I think American artists didn't necessarily get that quickly.
Do you really want to hurt me? Do you really want to make me cry?
Do You Really Want to Hurt Me is a good song. It's a song that old people like and young people like. So I think the proof is in the pudding. Buy it and eat it.
MTV actually met with Duran Duran's managers and said, we're looking for kind of like James Bond videos on location. And their managers are the ones that went to the band members and said, look, we really need to up the ante with these clips. You know, we need to give this channel something they've never seen before.
There are some that have accused your videos being soft porn.
Well, excuse me.
We like to call them tastefully smurty.
When I first met Duran Duran, they were saying that they thought they looked like rock stars, so why not become rock stars?
Why do you think we're so popular over there?
Well, I think there's a tradition that goes back over the past 20 years from the days of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, where British bands seem to be better at it than Americans.
The Police has sold 4 million albums in 1 year. Rolling Stone chose them as the best new band of the year, taking note of the swirling, dreamy, soaring quality of the sound.
It was incredible to see them, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Out of 3 people, I was shocked.
I once read that you were called the Pink Floyd of the 80s. What do you think of that?
No, we're not at all.
They're the Cure of the 80s.
The holy trinity of alternative British music is The Cure, Depeche Mode, and The Smiths. All 3 of them started out as these fringe bands that by the end of the 80s were selling out stadiums.
What's New Order? Computer programmers or musicians?
I'd say neither, actually.
What are you then?
Bank robbers.
In the UK, disco did not suck. It never sucked. And bands like New Order combined it with the new synthesizer sound, and they gave us these incredible songs that got us out on the dance floor.
I like what's happening in dance places now, over the last year or two. I think the music is becoming very healthy.
It has done wonders for the sagging record industry. It has made overnight stars out of rock groups whose records had been gathering dust.
This year, the first since 1978, business is finally up, and the reason is music videos.
We had no idea that music videos would have that much of an impact on the musical culture. It changed the entire dynamic of what you had to do as far as promotion was concerned. You had to be a performance artist as well as a musician.
The intelligent ones recognize that it's a marriage between the visual artist and the musician at this point. The man or the woman who finds the right combination will take it all.
When David and I decided that we were going to work together, it was pretty clear to me that David wanted to make a commercial album. Like, you know, now I'm going to go make a pop record, but it was going to be his version of pop.
My songs always tend to be impressionistic or even have a surreal quality to them. And on this album is the first time that I've really tried to adapt to a didactic kind of approach to songwriting.
On MTV.
But there's one group that's not happy with MTV. Many black artists who have been told their music doesn't fit the format.
That's what's happening. We're being sat in the back of the bus television style. And if Pittman gets away with this, and there are other cable shows that form, they're going to try it.
MTV doesn't exclude black acts. What MTV does exclude is music that's not rock and roll.
MTV came out with no consideration on how to infuse black music into their mix.
I'm just floored by the fact that there's so few black artists featured on it. Why is that?
We have to
try and do what we think not only New York and Los Angeles will appreciate, but also some town in the Midwest that will be scared to death by Prince or a string of other black faces.
Interesting. Okay, thank you very much.
When are we going to see anybody of color on MTV? Because you said music, television. When are you going to start covering all genres of music?
Music has no color, and it shouldn't have color. And I don't believe in that. What I do, I don't want it labeled black or white. I want it labeled, it's music.
1983, Motown has this big TV special, Motown's 25th anniversary. At that time, Thriller is out, and Thriller's doing well. But Michael Jackson couldn't get Billie Jean on MTV.
When the rest of the world was going crazy and he can't get on MTV, Michael Jackson, come on.
When he does that moonwalk, if you were sitting on the couch, by the end of it, you were on the floor in front of the TV. You couldn't believe what you were seeing.
I'll say that the moonwalk was really one of the first viral moments that affected rock history. The next week, Thriller started selling 1 million copies a week.
I like Michael Jackson because he's good, he's bad, he knows how to dance. He's so sexy and so gorgeous. He's exciting!
Michael Jackson is the man of the 80s.
MTV starts to get pressure from CBS Records, which was Michael Jackson's label.
Rock and roll in itself really was the thing that broke a lot of rules. And when you're very successful, you try to make your own rules occasionally.
As the story goes, CBS essentially said, we will pull every other artist we have on MTV if you don't play this. They had to be essentially blackmailed into doing it.
He was the artist that MTV really needed. They didn't know they needed him, but boy, when we started to see those Michael Jackson videos, it was just unbelievable.
Then there's a domino effect. Suddenly, you see Prince videos from Warner Brothers do the same thing.
Lisa, Prince wasn't just materializing out of nowhere. Where was he before this video was done?
Well, Prince was a huge star on black radio stations. I mean, he had a real underground cult following, and he was a very sexy, hot performer.
The sweat of your body covers me. Can you, my darling, can you picture?
Prince loved the idea that he was taking his punk-funk music and turning it on to a white audience, and that wouldn't have happened if not for MTV.
This is what it sounds like when the doves cry.
When I was younger, I always said that one day I was going to play all kinds of music and not be judged for the color of my skin, but the quality of my work.
Prince had a great androgyny. He blurred the gender line. He sings, he writes, he plays. Every time I see him, it's just like, oh, really? Okay, I quit.
When he plays guitar, it's just part of his body in a way that I've never really seen before. And it's not contrived, it's just happening.
What was his music? Was it R&B? You know, his music was just straight down the middle, mainstream, grab you by the throat and balls pop.
We go down to the river, and into the river we dive.
At this point, a lot of it is about being there, which is why we haven't done too much of the video thing. A lot of it is, it allows too much distance. Like what our band is about breaking down distance.
Bruce was all about credibility and intelligence and integrity. So how would he translate his music and his attitude toward the world to what seemed like this frivolous world of the music video? Bruce is not going to be next to a winking model on a sailboat.
You can't start a fire. You can't start a fire without a spark. This runs for hire.
He ends ends up doing essentially an in-concert video starring a then unknown Courtney Cox. It's like this weird recreation of something that organically happens in a Bruce Springsteen concert. If there was an artist in the 80s who transcended the music video, he's the guy. He's the one guy who didn't actually need to do great music videos to still be a great artist. He's Bruce Springsteen. It was great music.
David Bowie, Mick Jagger, Billy Joel, Rod Stewart, all famous, all rich, and all men. Rock and roll has been pretty much dominated by men until the last few years.
Pat Benatar is hot, very hot. 3 albums in the past 3 years, all million sellers, and the latest album hit the top of the charts in just 1 month. Her style is defiant, raucous, tough, and very sexy.
It appears to me that the one on stage is what I would picture a modern woman to be. Someone who is aggressive and soft at the same time, has a lot of strength and conviction, and can look good and still have brains.
You would think that in the era of music becoming a visual form more than ever, that it would all be about objectification. But there were a lot of strong women on that video screen.
Meet the darlings of LA's new music scene, the Go-Go's. Unlike earlier girl groups such as the Ronettes or the Supremes, the Go-Go's write their own songs and play their own instruments.
As punk rock as it got for me, to see girls up there, you know, not just singing backup or not just like standing in some cool outfit in front of a band, like they were the band.
While the Go-Go's have always managed to look like they're having fun, they are to be taken seriously. They're the first female group ever to have a #1 album, and they are at the top of a list of female rock stars whose impact within the industry is stronger than ever.
I thought her voice was extraordinary. And Cindy was a very good visual content creator. I mean, those videos were so colorful and fun.
This being March the 31st, it's also a Monday. Some of you might consider it a Manic Monday. You'd be interested in knowing there's a hit song of the same name, and we're joined by the architects of that song. They are the Bangles. You guys are very hot, yes?
When the Bangles came out, everyone was like, oh, it's like another Go-Go's. The Bangles were like, we're not the new Go-Go's. We're the new Beatles.
A lot of people call that a 60s sound. Do you think so?
Just that's our main influence. We don't go in and consciously say, let's make this a Buffalo Springfield song. It just, that seems to be the way the songs end up sounding.
Just another manic Monday. Wish it was Sunday.
There's always a certain amount of people who will never take women as a group seriously.
I mean, it's run by a very chauvinistic, I'd imagine, recording industry.
Yeah.
Right,
We concentrate on the music, you know. We don't really worry about those things. We just keep writing songs.
I think that there was a little bit of an attitude like they're okay for chicks. They can play okay for girls. We didn't understand why our gender mattered or why it defined us.
People magazine this week says it'll take an act of Congress to keep this woman from becoming a megastar. Whitney Houston.
Whether she was doing a dance song or she was doing a ballad, it kind of stopped you in your tracks because you just couldn't believe that one woman could be blessed with that much, with the looks and the talent.
This lady started out as a dancer, went to New York, went to Paris, worked with bands, came back as a single, And is she hot? This is Madonna.
If you saw Madonna then, she looked just like the girls who hung out at a club called the Funhouse. All the girls there had the mesh thing, and they had the boots, and it was kind of a mix of new wave punk with this other dance sensibility. I think Madonna was able to use that core of dance music and use the style of the streets that were going on and evolve that into a pop career.
We are a couple of weeks into the new year. What do you hope will happen, not only in 1984, but for the rest of your professional life? What are your dreams? What's left?
To rule the world.
All of a sudden, there was girls around that had the gloves with the fingers cut out of it and the hair wrapped up in the net and wearing the short skirts. There was like hundreds of thousands of Jewish girls around the country wearing crucifixes because of Madonna.
What do you like about her? Well, I like the way she thinks about acting free. She acts like a different attitude that no one else has.
She dresses how she wants, acts how she wants, sings how she wants. She does what she wants.
I think her appeal is that she is feminine, she is herself, she is sexual, but she's strong. She's an individual woman.
Madonna understood the MTV phenomenon. She understood the vibe and the look and the sound. It all came together with her.
If everyone underestimates you, you keep giving them little surprises. If they get you all in one glance, then what's going to make them look again?
When Madonna sang like a virgin and started rolling around the ground, people thought it was a career-ending moment for her.
In this wedding dress, rolling around on the floor. It kind of stopped everybody in their tracks and was thinking, what is she doing and why is she doing it? But literally by the next morning, she's the biggest star in the world.
Madonna had no doubt. She was like, this is happening. Get out of the way.
In the 80s, the videos were so expensive and so complicated, and you had to wear things that you would never dream of wearing before. And at first it was a lot of fun to really get dressed up and pull in that corset, you know, and just wear tons of makeup and great big huge hair.
You had to have that sexy kind of thing, you know. I'm coming out of a gold mold. Anne has a welding iron, and she's this, like, Amazon welder woman or something.
We felt lost in the theater of it. It got to the point where the videos were more important than the songs.
It did feel like, I can't steer the ship anymore. Where is it going, you know? Where are we headed?
I think heavy metal is the true rock and roll of the 80s. And rock and roll was basically music made by people who were thinking with their crotches.
Heavy metal, it is not something new in physics, it is rock and roll. Loud, rude, it glorifies sex and violence, it hates authority, and adolescent boys love it.
This is it, this is the hot stuff. Alan, turn it off for a second so we can talk.
You turn on your television set and you see this weird, beastly presentation that was birthed in the pit of hell.
Where do they get this information from that I'm Satan? Do I appear to you to have horns? I know I'm a bit strange looking, but I haven't quite got horns and breathe, but I don't speak like that.
Critics say there's something seriously wrong with metal music, outrageous by design, that it may have contributed to a number of teenage suicides.
Has rock and roll finally gone too far? Well, a growing number of people think so, and today they took their case to a U.S. Senate hearing. Their complaint? That rock lyrics and videos are crossing the line into trash and smut.
We are asking the recording industry to voluntarily assist parents who are concerned by placing a warning label on music products inappropriate for younger children due to explicit sexual or violent lyrics.
In the 80s, these artists who were pushing boundaries in different ways were bringing those messages and images into our homes. And that provided a political opportunity to push back against it.
We can say they're senators' wives, ooh, you know, and they're messing around in Washington, but they obviously have some real concerns. There's a lot that they do that I applaud because they are taking responsibility as citizens.
I brought along 2 videos which I believe are representative of the kind of presentation which have caused the furor.
Who's going to decide what's a sexual content of a lyric? Who's going to decide what is obscene and like that? Same housewives who are spearheading the movement?
In all candor, I would tell you it's outrageous filth, and that if I could find some way constitutionally to do away with it, I would.
Fans felt, you know, I'm capable of making my own decisions about the music I want to listen to. I don't need Tipper Gore deciding that this is too obscene for me.
So the next witness will be Mr. Frank Zappa.
The establishment of a rating system, voluntary or otherwise, opens the door to an endless parade of moral quality control programs based on things certain Christians don't like. I think you should leave it up to the parent because not all parents want to keep their children totally ignorant.
Yeah, you and I would differ on what's ignorance and educated.
The women didn't get the rating system they wanted, but they did get a commitment to begin applying a printed inscription on the packaging of albums, cassettes, and music videos, warning that they contain blatant, explicit lyrics.
Good rock and roll breaks all the rules, okay? That's just the way it is. That's the way it always has been. Elvis Presley was not good for the children either.
Good morning, everybody. I'm very pleased to announce Live Aid, which, without a doubt, will be the largest pop concert ever held.
Live Aid was the brainchild of Bob Geldof and Midge Ure, and the two of them were looking to raise as much money as possible for the famine victims in Ethiopia.
When tomorrow's 17-hour fundraising concert starts, sellout crowds in the stadiums will be joined by a television audience of perhaps 1.5 billion people around the world.
Watching Live Aid on TV was my version of driving to Woodstock, and I watched every second of it.
The great thing about Live Aid, it showed that musicians, for me, seem to be the most altruistic people in the world.
A group whose heart is in Dublin, Ireland, whose spirit is with the world, a group that's never had any problem saying how they feel. U2.
When U2 play Live Aid, things had changed. Rock and roll was getting serious. Music could change the world. Bono could change the world.
U2, formed 10 years ago when its members were still schoolboys, is now arguably the hottest rock and roll band in the world. Their last album, The Joshua Tree, has so far sold more than 13 million copies worldwide.
U2, somehow, in the video age, were still developing and becoming a great band and maintaining that kind of connection with people and not getting the message lost in the medium.
We spent the last 10 years finding out how to be in U2. We'll spend the next 10 years seeing what U2 can do.
Now, all around us, and so compelling you never miss the fact there's no melody, is a music that is all beat, strong beat, and talk. It's rap music.
Rap music began in Harlem and the South Bronx on playgrounds like this one, where people would gather to spin records and then recite their own lyrics, their raps, over the instrumental sections.
Come on now, brakes on the bus, brakes on the car.
The Breaks was Curtis Blow's biggest hit, selling 680,000 copies last year and hitting the top of the rhythm and blues sales charts.
As a young kid running around with a local DJ crew, I watched the transition from all the disco music that we used to play at all the block parties to slowly but surely hip-hop taking over.
The music underneath rapping is called scratching, and it's a process of using two turntables and a mixer, making new sounds out of already existing albums.
The thing that gave life to music in the 80s for me was hip-hop, because it took the sounds of the 60s and 70s and brought it to the forefront.
A child is born with no state of mind, blind to the ways of mankind. God is smiling on you, but he's frowning too, because only God knows what you'll go through.
The Message was the first hip-hop song that wasn't just a party song. It was talking about what was going on. It was talking about urban decay. It was talking about drugs, crime, prison, all of these things that were hitting these communities really hard.
Smugglers, scramblers, burglars, gamblers, pickpocket peddlers, even panhandlers. You say I'm cool.
When the Message hit, man, it was like, okay, put that down. What did he just say? Pull the record back. Play that again.
So don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge.
Everyone knew the game had changed. And it really opened the floodgates for the next generation of rappers.
When Run DMC came out, they were taking rock and roll music and they're putting it together with hip hop and making something brand new out of it.
You can't touch me with a 10-foot pole, and I even make the devil sound me so.
Run DMC kind of Led Zeppelinized hip-hop because it was fit for an arena, knocking the scoreboard down.
Aerosmith had sort of fallen off the map at that point, and it sort of brings them back into the fore, and it also breaks Run DMC in a much bigger way, because then you start to get more white kids listening to hip-hop.
Run DMC's latest album, entitled Raising Hell, has sold more than 1 million copies in just 13 weeks, a first for a rap record.
That album is called License to Ill. That's a stupid name for an album.
Hip-hop was our baby. This was our culture. This is our music. We created it. And then here come the Beastie Boys. And we were afraid that we were going to lose it.
You gotta fight for your right to war.
And then when we started listening to their music, they really were funky. And they could really get busy. So we were like, okay, all right.
Beastie Boys come out, what people thought would be a pop hip-hop group. Nah, they was straight hip-hop. Beastie Boys was dope. You know what I mean?
License to Ill really spread like wildfire and introduced a lot of people to hip-hop culture.
Can you give us some definitions of the LLs in your name?
LL stands for Ladies Love Legend, and leather long and lean, lover of ladies, last of the red hot lovers, looking for a little, looking, learning, the one you're liking, just a lot of L's.
The guys only be talking about themselves, how much of a lover, how the women love them to death, you know what I mean, how they can throw down, how good they can dance, how bad they are, nobody better not mess with me, and all of that kind of foolishness. If they would address the issues being poverty, the issues being not having political power. You see what I'm saying? All of these issues, they should be addressing this with their energy.
Planet Earth was my place of birth, born to be the sole controller of the universe.
Rakim is the God MC. He single-handedly changed the phrasing of rap music and hip-hop. He came to the world like a poet.
It's hard on the boulevard, so I bolt guard and never get scarred.
I learned different rhythms listening to jazz. I learned different rhythms, so I kind of incorporated that with my rhyme style, you know, not just the regular doom, doom, doom. I was in between do, doom, do, doom, do, doom.
To be all I can be and more, and see all there is to see before.
You know, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to set example for the little kids, you know what I'm saying? Got to teach the babies, you know what I'm saying? Try to lead them in the right path.
The summer of 1987, Rebel Without a Pause comes out. It was a call to arms. It was the sound of anger. It was the sound of something boiling under. Public Enemy literally said that we wanted to be music's worst nightmare.
Public Enemy's extreme politics has meant almost no radio airplay, even on black stations. It's rap for a reason. They call it a mind revolution.
Rebel Without a Pause was heavily influenced by Rakim and heavily influenced by what was just going on. It was really a desperate call to have us being heard.
You talk about black all the time to a multiracial audience. Shouldn't you maybe be thinking about who are the people I've got out here? Haven't you got a responsibility to them rather than what you personally want to...
I have a responsibility to my people and my culture, because my people and my culture have been brutalized and ignored for years.
Yeah.
Mother standing in the welfare line. The way that you survive is crime. My life is over, so I might as well speak my mind.
Ice-T is the first West Coast gangster rap, reality rap. Dude, 6 in the morning, police at my door. Ice-T did it way before NWA did it.
Straight out of Compton, crazy named Ice Cube. From the gang called niggas with attitudes. When I'm called off, I got a sawed off. Squeeze the trigger and bodies are hauled off. You too, boy, if you...
The Los Angeles rap group NWA drew fire from police because its album Straight Outta Compton talked in brutal and vulgar language about retaliating against cops for their anti-gang sweeps in the LA area.
NWA gave us the gritty, grimy, gang-banging streets of Compton. This is what's going on with us.
As I leave, believe I'm stumped. But when I come back, boy, I'm coming straight out of Compton.
People can talk about videos, but in the 80s, the actual sound of what popular music was and what was accepted as a sound, a drum sound, or a keyboard sound, or a bass line sound, changed profoundly over the course of the decade.
Coming to the end of the 80s, it's like watching a kaleidoscope. You open it up and you see a little bit of everything.
It was a time when everybody was getting involved and everybody was expressing themselves loudly. We are having the best time ever.
Every audience needs to get fed. You know, we'd fed the pop audience. But where's the rock and roll? Bon Jovi comes in with a huge record. Def Leppard, fantastic record. And that begins to bring that kind of music back.
At the end of the 80s, everybody came to the same conclusion simultaneously. Something new needs to happen here, and it's got to be real sounding, more garage, less produced.
This music that was bubbling out of places like Portland and Seattle, and bands like Nirvana that weren't looking to fit in to what was being played on MTV or what was being played on radio. Eventually, radio and MTV came to them.
The seeds of what will happen in the next decade are already all there by the end of the 80s. College rock, like REM, was something new entirely.
I've got my spine, I've got my orange crush.
The way that Peter Buck played guitar and the way that Stipe sang, where the voice was incredible, but you couldn't quite figure out what he was saying, it just made them more alluring and kind of more mysterious. You could get why that band would become huge.
It wasn't new wave. It wasn't a new romantic. They started calling it alternative music.
You know, this is the thing about the 80s. Everyone thinks it's about crazy haircuts, lots of makeup, insane clothes, and it was. But the thing about this music that lasts is that their songs were so good.
You can go back and listen to those records, from the engineering to the musicianship to the writing and to the performance of it. It surpasses most music.
Everybody had a story, and they wanted to tell it. The artists that were coming through the TV and into your lives.
I'll say that the music of the 80s is more effective than what came to us in the 60s, simply because all of us were included this time. No decade was more effective in dance music, in politics, and different genres than the 80s. There will never, ever be another decade like it, ever.